and welcome to Voice of Thermop podcast. I'm here with two very special guests. I never thought we'd be able to get this interview, but they are so gracious to be able to come on this podcast with me and in this journey. And we're here with
Taylor, Sweeney. I'm a manager at the Star Plunge, and Roland's daughter.
I'm Roland Lonnie. I'm the owner of Star Plunge. Been part of Star Plunge for the last 50 years of my life.
50 years.
50 years, yes.
That's been a journey. I bet you have more than enough stories to tell everyone.
Oh, I could write several books.
You can write.
I mean, it could be
Maybe.
comedy books, sports books.
Comedy.
Yeah, I've got some good stories.
Sports books. How would you write it? What, water polo? Like synchronized swimming?
People doing exercise classes here, swimming events here, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that's so cool.
Water polo, water tag, water basketball.
Water basketball.
Yeah, people, there's lots of activities.
Speeding
here.
down the slides as fast as you can.
Time trials on the slide.
Yeah, we should do a Star Plunge Olympics, I think.
Oh, how fun would that be to see something like that? Like it's like a month-long thing or something, and everyone's doing time trials on the slide, and then it's like maybe like a marathon where it's like, now you do this event, now you do this event, the high dive. That would be kind of fun. So you've been doing this for 50 years.
Yes, sir.
And it was established by your father in 1975. Am I right on that one?
Well, Star Plunge has a long history. And ever since we got into this ordeal with the state, this battle, we've had to reach back to see, where did Star Plunge actually come from?
Yeah.
And so, like I said, my father purchased the facility in 1975, and he bought the building, he bought the pools, he bought all the equipment, and
Wow.
he started his lifelong dream in 1975. But we started dating it back, and my father bought it from a guy named Scott Taylor. Scott Taylor purchased the pool in 1953, I believe. And in 1958, Scott Taylor received a 50-year lease for the pool in 1958.
Wow.
Yeah, yep. That was the first lease for the Hot Springs State Park here.
Okay.
And the lease went for 50 years from 1958 to 2008. Okay. So when we started digging back to find out the origins of the pool, we right away zipped back to about 1890. In 1890 was the last time they enlarged our inside pool. Our inside pool, when it first started, like before 1890, the very first recollection or proof that Star Plunge was here was in 1846. And
How did that
in
work out?
1846, there's a few cowboys in the pool swimming, and a guy had found a rock in shape of a star, and that's how Star Plunge got its name.
Wow.
But the thing was in 1846, the pool was already here, okay? And in 1846, it was just I want to say it was a 20-foot by 20-foot, 4-foot deep square pool, just dug a certain distance from the big spring. So we keep digging on when did Star Plunge actually start? So I went over to the Shoshone Nation, the Arapaho Nation, and started digging and started talking to some of the elders over in the eastern Shoshone and northern Arapaho. And their elders can relate this pool back 600 to 700 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and our inside pool, we can prove it. There is a in the indoor pool we have a rope that goes across. Next to the rope, there's this hump. This hump's about 6 foot wide, and this hump hasn't been used since 1890, when the last expansion of the indoor pool had happened. So
That's that big part, that big lump there is actually like a historical landmark.
it truly is.
Wow. Okay.
Now that's where the water used to come in. It used to flow right through there into the square pool.
All right.
And the pool was placed here for a certain reason by the Shoshone or the Arapahoes 500-700 years ago. And it had to be here a certain distance from the big spring, okay? And it had to run through an open ditch so the water could cool down
Oh,
before it
okay.
could enter the pool. And then, since it's a flow through pool, a certain amount of water would run, and it had to be a certain distance from the spring. So the water would continually run and turn over. So, like a bunch of dirty cowboys could jump in, they get out, and
And
within
the water
hours,
circulates through.
it totally turns over. So, if you look in our indoor pool, like I said, there's about a 6 foot hump by the rope. That's where the water used to come in, and you could see where the wall was, and the growth of the mineral comes out.
Yeah.
It's really insane. But if you look at it and you date it, that hump to the hump that was started in 1890, that hump is 3 or 4 times older. And so if it's been 140 years for a hump to grow, let's say 2 feet,
Yeah.
the other one is like 6 to 8 feet. So it's 3 or 4 times older. So that's how you could date this pool back
Wow.
600, 700 years. Yeah, it's amazing, and the history of that pool and this pool. I mean, it goes way back, and it gives this pool lots of character that you don't find in, like, let's say the Roland pool. It's beautiful, it's nice, it's square, it's perfect. None of our pools are perfect, but
Yeah.
they do have character.
Right.
Yeah.
That's definitely something I swimming here myself and with the family. Seeing that big hump, it's like this is kind of weird. Like you'd think a normal, traditional pools are more I don't know, sterile pools. We'll say in a way of like they get rid of all the character, right? Don't have something like that, and it seemed a little weird. Like, is this like a step down, or is this like a way to help people get out? But it's turns out it's just history. You're literally climbing around on history when you're jumping off of that or climbing up on it or anything like that. That it's predates anyone in that building.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. And so we've dated it way back, and go back to about 1840 or 1846 when the museum itself, they're the ones who found that date for me
Wow.
and found that story. So as time passed, as you know, Thermopolis in the Big Spring has a special name. It's water with healing powers. And so in 1864, they had the Sand Creek Massacre down in Colorado. And in the Sand Creek Massacre in 1864, the Indians that were massacred down there, the ones that died, they just left them there. I know it sounds great,
Unfortunately, yeah.
but the ones that were wounded and the survivors came to Thermopolis on their way over towards, I think, Riverton. But they put Thermopolis on their sites to come for the healing waters. So many of the Northern Cheyenne
Wow.
and the Northern Arapaho came to Thermopolis to heal after this horrible act down in Colorado. So whenever you drive to Casper down to towards Colorado on I-25, you'll cross the Sand Creek Massacre Trail, and this is where they came, and this is where they started it always had that the name of special healing powers. I think the Shoshone called it Bagwana, and that's I mean.
So they sought
This part of their-
refuge here
Yes.
to be able to like recoup and tend to their wounds with the waters and everything.
Right.
That's interesting.
I've visited with a couple of Northern Cheyenne chiefs and some elders from the Northern Arapaho,
Wow.
who are direct ascendants from the survivors and some of the people that were killed in that massacre. And it's so strange how you read this stuff in a book, and that was history, and you were forced to read it. But it's like, oh well, that was a massacre here, a massacre there, or a battle, or whatever they'd call it. But when you actually talk to somebody who had stake in the game,
Yeah.
when you hear the story of the chief that was killed at this massacre, him and his wife, how they were mutilated and their body parts, showed around Colorado and
My goodness.
paraded through Denver. It just takes a different meaning, and so I mean, it's just horrible. But the story that these chiefs have told me have really connected, and it just takes a different meaning when you get
Definitely.
the pool. And I mean, it just changed my life. just what I've heard in the stories that they've told me about what has happened to the Eastern Shoshone, the Northern Arapaho, and the Northern Cheyenne on just looking back on the history. It's just crazy. It's I know. So,
And so you definitely feel like a weight of responsibility then when you're tending this and you're building this and everything. That's really heavy on you then,
Oh.
you would say.
oh yeah, I mean, you get when I get in the water, it's a relieving. It's
Yeah.
a relieving factor to me, and I believe that's why a lot of people come here, because it's healing to them too, whether emotionally or physical or
In various
wellness
facets, yeah.
or rehab. It takes on many different meanings to different people.
Wow. That is definitely true. Like we get people from all over the world to these pools and for various reasons. And I think that kind of sums up a lot of those reasons, right? It's like whether it's healing in the way of enjoyment or healing in the way of medical or healing in the way of like you said like a therapy reason or even mental clarity, like relieving stress or any of that. That's it says a lot because anybody can go to like a hotel pool and splash around and stuff, but it doesn't have the same properties that the hot springs here do. And then the history, like a hotel pool doesn't have the grand history of something like that. And once you kind of get to know what really happened or what really accumulated to this point of being able to be here in these waters as they are, as your family's been preserving for all these years, it a lot more investment personally kind of comes into that, I think, right?
Oh, it does. Yeah, the pools have its own personality. Like I said, the indoor pool's so old, but when you look at our outside pool, it's not square. It's 104 foot long. On the deep end side of our pool, it's 41 feet. On the shallow end side, it's 46 feet wide. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of a weird shape. If you ever look at a drone picture of our outside pool, that's when you really see it.
Yeah, that's when you see it, huh?
Yeah,
So Google
nothing's
Maps or
square.
something, huh?
And our outside pool, it was made from a lot of the concrete slabs from the old dam.
Oh,
When they redid the dam, I think of the 30s or 40s or 50s, out in the canyon, the dam, the temporary dam, was made of some of these parts that are used in our outside pool.
gotcha.
Huge
So they
concrete
brought that
slabs.
concrete
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah.
And how is there any insight into how that came to be? Like they were just tearing down the dam and you walked over there
Back in, I want to say the outdoor pool was built back in the early 50s by Scott Taylor. Scott Taylor, his son Wedgwood Taylor lives out here on East River Road, and his son still does like construction in Thermopolis. But Scott, his father, I believe, was from back east. He moved back here to Thermopolis back in the 30s, 40s, or 50s, and he was the park superintendent for Hot Springs State Park. Scott Taylor,
Oh.
Wedge's father. And while he was park superintendent, Star Plunge came up for sale, and he ended up purchasing it.
Wow.
Scott Taylor was the superintendent, purchased the Star Plunge, and I believe he built this outside pool and used pieces from the dam. Scott Taylor owned the pool, or started a lease for the pool in 1958. Scott Taylor received a 50-year lease
Okay.
from the state of Wyoming while he was park superintendent.
Wow.
Yeah.
50-year lease.
Yeah, 50-year lease in 1958. And back in 1958, the state, most people thought that this facility couldn't survive 50 years.
Right.
So
they're like, sure, you can have it for 50 years.
50
It's going to be
years.
rubble by then.
Yeah. and so they had figured, like in 2008, by then we should probably tear this facility down and maybe, just surrender the property back over to the state of Wyoming. But in 2008, the Star Plunge itself was fairly valuable to the community, and
Yes.
especially to the economic part of our community, drawing the people that it's always drawn to our community.
It could be said that it started Thermopolis in a way.
Well, yeah, it's the Thermopolis named as heated pools or city of heat, something
Yeah,
like that.
hot city.
Hot city, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the last few years, we've drawn over 90,000 swims to our pools. 1,150 of those swims come locally, like by season ticket holders.
Oh, yeah.
People buy a season ticket, and it's good from the point of purchase until January 1st. So we sell the majority of our tickets in January when we need the money the most. And on average, swimmers come probably once a week. And so, 56 times 1,150 tickets. It's around between, let's say, 50 and 60,000 swims.
Wow.
And the rest, I'd say 40 to 50,000 swims come from people from out of town. The majority of those are people that live in the state of Wyoming. And those records you can tell by what we make, our income.
Correct.
The number of what we make relates to the number of swims. And
Wow.
so since 1975, we've slowly and gradually have increased the number of patrons that come here. Each year it increases slightly.
You've never had a down year or anything?
Yeah. We've had some down years, and then we had spikes. But if you take the average, you'll see it going up.
And COVID probably didn't help much.
Well, you know what? COVID shut us down for about 2 months.
Oh.
But as soon as COVID started relieving, and we were able to reopen the Star Plunge and the teepee, visitation skyrocketed in Thermopolis.
I bet.
It just
the healing waters, right?
it boomed. It boomed, and it's been better each year since.
Well, that's great,
Mm-hmm.
and it attributes to the work that both of you are doing in all these years, right?
Well, yeah, it's a whole team of people that we have here. That normally we have around 15. In the summertime, we can get up to about 30 employees.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's lifeguards, maintenance workers,
Flight
front
attendants,
desk,
front desk.
slide
yeah.
attendants. I didn't think of that one.
Yeah, yeah. And they all play a huge part. They all have to follow the leader, and that it makes a big difference when everybody's pulling the same way. One thing about our pool too that I've always cherished is that we've had a few employees here for a number of years. We hired a guy named Mickey Wallace. He started working here in 1978. About 3 years ago,
1978. Wait, let's pause on that one for a second.
he started working here in 1978, and he'd still be working here today, but he died 3 years ago, and he worked here until like 3 weeks before he died, because he loved this place, and he just came and worked. He didn't even get paid.
What a passion.
He would come in, empty garbage cans, and
Check on things.
and check on things, and he started in 1978. I don't know if you know Alvin Luce in town.
I don't.
Alvin Luce. He's from a very poor family, and he started working here in 1987, and he's been with me ever since 1987. He's been injured the last couple of years, but he's trying to make it back. But Mickey was like, I'd say 43 years. Alvin's working on, I think, 37 years. Sean Norby has been working on and off since 2003, I believe, and then he pretty much was on board from 2004 on. Taylor, she started working here. Well, she was born in 94, and she probably started doing an actual job here like consistently in 2000 when she was about 6, helping people with blockers, and so
Let's not do the math, guys. Let's not do the math.
Corey Ireland, this guy, he started working, I believe, in 1995, and poor Corey, he's like 80 pounds, and he was a slide attendant in 1995. And this guy has been nothing but a trooper and a worker.
Wow.
There's never been a time where I've gotten a hold of Corey and said, "Hey, Corey, we need somebody to come down here." Sure enough, he'll say,
He's there.
"I'm on my way," just like it. And he would show up every time. Corey did go to college, and when he went to college, he took a part-time job running or helping a theater up in Billings. And so a few years ago, when we reinvested in our community and opened the theater house, Corey was the perfect fit.
Yeah.
The theaters are pretty much, they are computer oriented. Dealing with servers, downloading all kinds of stuff. And Corey's the man, and that guy, he puts in 80 hours a week, but only claims maybe 30 hours, just because the theater, it's pretty much a community service. It makes
Yeah,
nothing.
it's
It
a tough
makes,
one.
yeah, it makes absolutely nothing, nothing. But and that's like when somebody comes in and they, let's say we're going to bring a Disney movie in, when we get that brand new Disney movie, the new release.
Mm-hmm.
They take 80 or 70% of the gate most of the time.
Wow.
So like when we charge $10, we get $3. So the theater's
That's just the ticket price.
That's the ticket price, yeah. So we make $3 when you come in to watch a movie,
Man.
and that's why pop is expensive, because we got to pay for the insurance, the taxes, to
Right.
heat the facility, to cool the facility.
All
and
comes
to
off the
maintain.
concessions.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, and so like when people ask, it's kind of expensive. Yeah, it is, but
On both ends.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. But Corey, if we need him here, he's ready. He comes back and fills in here. But he runs the theater, and he's a big part of this theater, or this Star Plunge as well.
And the community.
And, the community. Yes, yeah. He's
Servicing both these places isn't easy work.
exactly.
So a caveat on the theater really quick. So something that I understood, but I don't think a lot of people do, is that when you do get like a brand new movie, like a Disney movie or the big Marvel movie, that kind of thing, you end up having to show only that movie for like a month. You can't just show it a Friday night, right, and then turn it over to a different movie Saturday night or something like that.
Exactly. That's exactly right. What happens is they call it the break. When a movie breaks out, and if you want the big movie,
Mm-hmm.
like let's say this Jurassic Park, they're wanting to have money up front, and you have to commit to, usually when it comes out on the break, when it's a brand new movie, 3 weeks to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And if it comes out and your movie buyer or we decide that, we get this movie and it's a flop, you're stuck.
For 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, you're stuck. and after the first movie, those guests that come in, when they leave, if it's a bad movie, it tanks. It tanks in our community and kind of makes it harder to.
And then that investment for that movie, now you're just sitting there waiting for being able to try to do the next investment, hoping it hits the big box office for everyone, and you get people coming and like the new Star Wars, like back in the day when people used to line up down the road. Those kind of days are not so much anymore. When they're people used to camp out at the theater line. I don't know if you remember that kind of stuff, but I think it was a big thing in the 90s for sure. When we had a lot of like early 90s maybe, when we had like the Star Warses and like Lord of the Rings was big. And I remember actually personally sitting outside waiting for Lord of the Rings. I was like 3 hours early. At the local mall back where I come from. And so I think those days are kind of gone, and now like it's even harder to get people just to kind of watch the movie again. It's like they'll come and watch a movie, and then maybe they'll come again with someone else. But typically, you got almost one shot per person in a town of 2,700 people, 3,000 people.
It makes it hard.
It's hard.
It does make it hard, and the quality of movies that they put out in the last, let's say, 5-6 years.
Oh, that's a big part too.
Are bad. Since we've opened the theater, we've had probably in the last 3.5 years, we've had maybe 20 movies that were profitable.
Yeah.
Like
It doesn't
Moana
do good for business.
was the greatest movie we ever showed. It sold out.
Which one?
Moana.
Moana.
2.
Oh, Moana 2. Yes.
The Maverick was the
that
other
was
big,
cool.
big movie, and those movies, some people they watch it a couple times, 2 or 3 times. A few people.
Definitely.
It was that good, but those movies don't come around very often.
No, they don't come around very often.
Yeah, they had that writer's strike for a while.
That's right. So then they just started putting out really interesting movies across the board. Yeah. Interesting in a way that maybe not worth seeing all the time, or at least not twice, right? So you reinvest in the community and end up picking up the movie theater, and then that was about what year?
That was, I think, was 2022.
Right after
2022.
the pandemic.
Yeah, right after the pandemic.
Thank goodness, right?
Yeah, and we were very fortunate to get it, because if the building would have sold to someone else, it might not have ever opened.
Yeah, it could have been something else.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy what all the stuff we had to go through to get it going as a theater.
Yeah?
Yeah, just
To
tons of
open the doors again.
applications.
It took a lot.
Yeah, like for like Lionsgate and Disney and DreamWorks, and you had to submit an application to each of them to show.
Studios.
Yeah,
Each
to the
studio,
studio.
you had to fill out an application, give a sample of your blood and stool.
Basically,
Yeah,
it was
pretty
terrible.
bad.
It
Yeah,
was like,
it was bad. It was
Man,
bad.
they definitely took a part of you just to get the ball rolling on that, and that's because you were new owners, right? Not so they treated it as if you were opening a new theater in a way, and not like just taking over the contracts that were already established.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a
it
new
was-
owner. The previous owner, Bob and Dee, they were great people.
They were so great
They were
people.
great people, and the theater just it drug them down because
Yeah.
they couldn't make it. So when we got it, that's when the truth comes out, and you find out that there's no money in the theater. That the theater itself, the projector needed replaced. The sound system needed replaced. And we put in thousands and
Man.
thousands of dollars to upgrade everything to bring it up to what it is now. And I mean, when we got it, the theater needed 4 amps, but it was running off of 2 amps.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they really struggled, Bob and Edie, but I mean, wonderful people. They did it because they loved the community
The
and they
passion.
loved the kids, and it drug them down, and there was no stopping it. There's no stopping it. And so they gave their life to that theater, and the theater pretty much ruined them.
Man.
Yeah.
But they worked at that theater for a long time, and they did such good work. And
Yes, they
When I
did.
first came to town almost 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
meeting them and going to the theater, I'm used to super colossal 10-screen theaters, and little Thermopolis here, like okay, this is cute, but it has that charm that man, it hooks so many people. I think that I like to call Thermopolis kind of like a melting pot. Is where like you get people from all over the place, and maybe they visit or they maybe happen to know somebody, but almost everyone is not from Thermopolis. It's hard to find someone born and raised and had that legacy here, but you're one of them that has been here for your entire life. And
Pretty much, yes. Yes.
what I think is really cool is like every time we go on vacation, we would run into someone that knows the Star Plunge.
Wow.
Someone that knows somebody from
Right,
Thermopolis or
right.
have been here.
Like a
know
celebrity,
people,
huh?
like- Well, not us. Just the name Star Plunge or Thermopolis. They know what
We'll
we're
wear our
talking
shirts around. We'll see Star Plunge
Oh, that's
on
great.
it. And,
Yeah,
and,
those-
and then, hey, I've been there.
Have you ever had an instance in which someone was all like, "Oh, that place," and then you're like, "I'm the owner."
Well, there was one down in Grand Junction, this lady that's working at Sam's Club. And a good buddy of mine bumped into her, and she said to him, "Oh, they were mean to me at the Star Plunge one time."
Oh no.
And when I found out, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's not good." So I sent her down a couple T-shirts and a couple free swim passes. So
Wow.
I think she forgave me. but we always want to try to treat everybody good.
Of course.
And we don't want anybody to come here and have a bad experience, because it's important,
Yeah.
And being the way it is right now, if there's a complaint, they'll tell the lifeguard, and if he doesn't make it right, they'll tell the manager, and if that don't work, then they'll tell me. And it's not like call a 1-800 number to find somebody to complain about. They can look up the phone book or ask for my number or find it on Facebook.
Yeah.
They'll call me up. Hey, Roland, there was a mess in the dressing room. But
Yeah.
I'll be on that phone, and that mess better be cleaned up, because it's not really a complaint most of the time. It's something that we have always liked, for people to tell us what we're doing wrong, so we
Sure.
can fix it.
There are ways you can do better, and give you the opportunity to make it better.
Exactly, and I tell people, this is not Caesar's Palace or Disney World here.
Right.
It's not world class, and
I mean, it kinda is,
It's Wyoming class. Wyoming class, and it's safe, it's clean, it's affordable, and it's for families to enjoy. And that's what we offer. That's what we offer. So
Just recently, you put out a statement, and it was to clear the record straight, I think is how that went.
yes, sir.
And I think those were some of the words that you actually had said in there, that we're Wyoming class, and that really stuck with me, and that really resonates. It's a different, it's an adjacent level of like artisanal look on things. It's setting a standard that isn't just like it's functional. Like like you see a lot of places. It being a Wyoming class, it's we might be a small state, and some say we don't exist on the internet, but. Except for Jack Black in the Minecraft movie, I'm just saying he said Wyoming. But that Wyoming class, right? It means so much to us being here, and when you come here, I think you get the sentiment really quick, and not just to the Star Plunge, but to Wyoming, and you're like, you can see that this is on a different standard all of its own. That is above just being a functional place or being just somewhere that was enjoyable. It has a different charm. It has a different character to it. And the Star Plunger is like a monolith of testament to that. So
it is. You're absolutely right. Yeah, no, you come in, the dressing rooms aren't square; it's at an angle. The floors aren't level; they're at an angle. But that's what makes Star Plunge what it is. If you want a brand new water park with the perfect floors, the perfect square showers, the perfect steps, the perfect everything. You got that already in probably the big city.
Yeah.
You want that.
You probably came from that.
$100 million water park, that don't fly in Wyoming. Our season's much too short.
Yeah.
There's not enough people here.
We had some rain last night.
The weather just doesn't permit people to come to Wyoming or travel to Thermopolis in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
People, you never hear, I'm calling from Florida. How you doing? We're going to plan on our winter vacation in December into Thermopolis or January in Thermopolis. It just doesn't happen. Thermopolis and Star Plunge, we get our money from the state of Wyoming, the people from the state. That's the majority of our money.
Yeah.
The people from out of state that travel to Yellowstone in the summertime, they help a lot too, but the majority of the money that comes here is from Wyoming residents.
Wyoming class.
Yes.
So why did we need to set the record straight? I think this is the meat everyone's wanting to know.
Okay.
So there was a lot of buzz because they shut you guys down. And they is pretty ominous. But you guys were shut down by who?
Okay. So as you know, we're in the park. This facility,
the Hot Springs State Park.
My building, our facility sets on state land. Okay. We owned everything. The building, everything that was man-made, we own, but we don't own the ground that it sets on. So about a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, the Wyoming legislators passed a new law saying that the only way you can operate your business is to have a long-term lease from the state of Wyoming State Parks. So it was important to us that we needed to set the record straight. And the problem with this whole deal that we're going through is that we have to watch what we say. We just can't come out and blah, blah, blah. And say what's on our mind and say what we're feeling, because that could come back and haunt us. We do not have deep pockets for attorney fees.
For a conglomerate of lawyers to...
we don't have that. Well, what has happened was, as the state marches forward to make their plans into turning this park into a world-class themed water park, they had to be able to maybe get rid of us first. Okay.
Yeah.
So to do that, they've been, I want to say, planning this since the master plan that came out in 2014, started in 2014. Yeah. So the last few, let's say the last 2 years, the state has been planting their seeds. One of the seeds that they came up with was that the state came out and said, Roland, he doesn't want a lease. He didn't want a lease. We gave him a lease, but he didn't want a lease.
Interesting.
So it was like, I can't just come out and tell everybody why. I mean, you just can't do that.
Understood.
So that was one of the big things that I believe is a lie, because I've spent over $120,000 to obtain a lease. So me not wanting a lease is
it's pretty expensive not wanting something.
is the furthest. The second thing that's happened was the state has come out and they've said that, the pools in Thermopolis are in disarray. They're in disarray. But they never said Star Plunge pool is in disarray. They just said pools are in disarray. And then the latest one was we had Brooks Jordan and members of the Wyoming State Parks going around the state saying, hey, it wasn't us. It wasn't us that closed the Star Plunge down. It was the court system. Okay, so at this point, we visited with my attorneys, and they said, well, Roland, write a letter. Let us make sure that you don't say anything stupid, because it's easy to do.
It's a typical thing lawyers say. Yeah.
And so we wrote this letter up, and we wanted everybody to know that it was Wyoming State Parks that closed the Star Plunge down, and not the park, or not the court system. And
so the Wyoming State Park is what shut you guys down.
Exactly.
And not courts.
And the Wyoming State Parks could allow us to open today if they wanted. They just want to inflict as much pain on Star Plunge and my family as they can.
And that's kind of the general sentiment, it feels like, right? Is because if they can open it, why not? The town outcry for having you guys open is huge. Is probably the biggest topic anyone's talking about, is because with the Star Plunge, the state park brings in so much traffic into our town, which we relatively rely on tourism. Not everybody just works things for free, you know, and so we have that extra traffic flow is what helps keep food on all of our tables, and tending these businesses and tending these things. And so taking it back, so there was a 2013 master plan.
Right.
And this was to say that they were updating the park and its facilities, right? And are you able to elaborate on this master plan?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to just talk out of turn or say something that wasn't right when you're in the middle of it. I did a bunch of research, but I hear a lot of different angles. So, So what is the 2013 master plan?
Okay. The master plan came out. What happened was the state said we need to have a new master plan to change this park into our dream in the next 20 years. So what happened is they asked about 15 local business people and people from the community to be part of this committee to help steer the new master plan on what we wanted. Okay. So they assembled us, and they scheduled, I'd say 5 or 6 meetings where we had to go to these meetings and talk about what would be good for the park, what we wanted to see, and blah, blah, blah. Well, when we went to these meetings, I remember old Randy Waller. One of the first things that he said was, why are the Shoshone or the Arapaho Indians not at this meeting?
Oh.
Well, and it made question, and I believe the reaction was from the state was, we asked them to come, but they didn't want to show up. Well, this is a complete nation that they're talking. 2 nations of it's a.
You're like all of them, really?
Yeah. Well, at least they
not one
should
person
have had somebody from their business council, but this wasn't right. But anyway, Randy Waller brought this up, and I believe he did, and it was brought up several times why they weren't there participating in this master plan. And in the very first plan that they brought out of the state was that the Star Plunge was completely eliminated out of the park, and the Star Plunge was turned into a rose garden. A rose garden. Yeah.
How does that
I don't
helping
know.
the community?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we started a petition back then, like 2016, and we got over, I believe it was 24,000 signatures of people saying, hey, we signed up for this, and people in the community said we never agreed that the park would be better without Star Plunge.
Right.
So we started this petition and had some more meetings, and the people that were in that committee, most of them said, hey, we never talked about eliminating.
Yeah, where
Star
was that
Plunge.
in the meetings, right?
Yeah, it was never in there. So one thing led to another, and they drew another plan that did include Star Plunge. Okay. I would like to think that everything that the people went there to try to see, like their influence, none of it really came into fruition except for Kevin Skate's idea of having the grand entry of the park, that new...
Oh, that cool sign that we have, like the Jurassic Park sign. I like to think of it as.
Yes, he was the park superintendent at the time, and he was the guy that came up with that idea. But I think they probably told him, "Why don't you say this? Because this is already in our plan."
Yeah.
Okay. And other things that that most people came up with was all just, I don't know. I believe we were just there to go through the motions, but everyone else's idea just never came into fruition. It never happened.
And so some of the ideas was like a conference center to be able to bring in like conventions and stuff.
Interpretive center.
Oh, interpretive center.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
came up with the interpretive center. You know where the drive-in used to be?
I don't.
Okay, okay. So you're coming in from Roland, and that big round turn before you get to the stop sign to come into the park.
Oh, okay.
You're dropping down off the hill from the highway from Roland.
And that's where the disc golf course is.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Between where that disc golf is and the
Tracks.
under the tracks, you know, where you
Oh,
go
okay.
into the underpass, there used to be a drive-in theater there.
Wow.
And so the states came up with the idea 20 years ago about putting in an interpretive center, and that's never happened either.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's a lot of ideas that came up, but nothing's ever really happened.
It seemed like some of the plan included upgrades to the Star Plunge, upgrades to the TP pool, the bathhouses to remain free use for the hot springs and everything. That was always seemed to be part of it. And for one, it's a part of the agreement, of course, right? That we made
Yes.
with the tribes and everything. And then so that was their upgrades to you guys, and then there was the conference center or the interpretive center as well. So there's two things to that. So there's the big convention center they still want to do in the park. Currently, it seems like it's a current plan to do this, and that led them to go to you and be like, hey, you know, the master plan says you need to do these. You need to do these upgrades. This is what our vision is for your business. Is that kind of how it went, or did they just completely ride you guys off and say Rose Garden?
Well, they the Star Plunge is basically landlocked. It's landlocked. We can't go out to the
Yeah, you can't expand
either
foot.
way. So that's why we've always continued to upgrade everything that we have.
Yeah.
We try to keep it fairly new and keep up on the maintenance, because the mineral water itself, it creates a very harsh environment. So like a normal pool, for instance, the pool in Roland, they'll have a motor and a pump to filter their water.
Okay.
That motor and pump will last them probably about 10 years.
Yeah.
The motor and
with
pump
proper
here,
upkeep and
the motor and pump here for filtration, like a booster pump for like our steam room and hot tubs, it lasts maybe 6 months.
wow.
Our filter pumps, the smaller pumps for like the big slide pool, they last maybe a year or two. It's just the environment is very harsh with the sulfur, the harsh environment. Like when you smell the eggs, that's very acidic. And what it does is it eats stuff, it turns things into rust real fast.
Real fast.
So most of the stuff we have here, we try to buy either stainless steel, aluminum, wood, plastic, concrete, metals, copper, electronics. They don't last.
Yeah, they all
just
get
don't
eaten
last.
up pretty bad by all the minerals and stuff in the,
Yeah,
in
exactly.
the water.
So the state wants us to upgrade, but it's been very difficult. One upgrade that we made was we built a new hot tub,
Yeah.
our hot tub outside. It took us 9 years to get permission from the state to do the new hot tub.
Interesting. What goes into that? Why 9 years for a hot tub?
It just went back and forth. They never had any intention. I believe that the state had no intention since 2008, when our lease agreement expired,
The first one.
to renew with us.
Interesting.
So in 2021 was the first big stab at getting a lease. Okay.
Yeah, now we're moving into 2021 territory. Yeah.
So before the RFP in 2021, the very first thing happened was in 2016, TP Pools received a 40-year lease. And in 2016, shortly after the master plan came out, I felt confident that we were going to get a lease too from Wyoming State Parks, but it never happened. So in 2021, the state released a new RFP. In the RFP, you had to put out a bid. And for me to do a bid, it isn't like, oh, I'll just fill out this piece of paper and this is what I want to do. No, you have to go hire a management company. You have to hire attorneys. You have to hire architects. You have to hire people that can draw.
Yeah.
Designers,
Designers, engineers.
yeah, and accountants to put together a package to present it to the state, and hopefully that they would take your bid.
So you bring out your plan
I brought out
for
my
the
plan.
property, and hoping to get a lease, and then other entities from outside, from inside, from whoever wants to show up with their big stack of plans, however much money they put into this, gets to show up to the table.
Right. Basically, they put my facility out for bid.
Yeah.
In the first RFP, if you were to place a bid, you would have to pay the appraised value of my facility to the winning. Like if the winning bidder wins, some guy from, let's say, some DC lobbyist would win the RFP in 2021. He would have to pay the appraised value of the facility, which was fair. But yet, this is your family business.
Yeah.
I'd have to choke that down, and there would be nothing I could do about that.
And I think from my numbers, and you feel free to correct me whenever you need to, the roughly appraised value was like $1.3 million.
In 2021.
2021, the first round
Right.
of the RFPs going around.
Right.
And so whoever from the outside would have to pay that paycheck to you, and however their plan included their amenities and upgrades and whatever they wanted to be able to take over the business. So they bought the business and they pay you out.
Yeah.
Right?
What it was the 1.3 million, and then there was a you have the personal items like the extra pumps, the motors, inventory, stuff like that. So it came out to like I say 1.5, 1.7 million. That was to be paid to the concessionaire. Okay. At the same time,
Welcome back.
The TP pools received their 40-year lease. The Star Plunge was also strapped with a thing that they called referred maintenance.
Okay, what's that?
It was a list of items that the state thought that we needed to fix, and like the facility.
Interesting.
They
Is
said,
this
well,
normal though? Is that something every RFP kind of goes through? Every bidding session goes through?
No. This was a referred maintenance. Okay, and in 2021, most of the items on that referred maintenance was done. Okay, most of them. So as time passed, and we won the 2021 RFP.
You're being the sole bidder.
I was the sole bidder. No one else bid except me. The team of people that I hired, I had like almost, I think, 5 or 6 people at the walkthrough when the RFP started, which was mandatory. Mandatory that you showed up at the walkthrough, and then after you did the walkthrough, the RFP had started. So
just to highlight on the RFP really quick, you can't just put your name on a paper, say what you're going to do. It's like very, very hard to read and understand.
A lot of
you have
legal
to hire
mumbo
these
jumbo.
people that are architects, graphic designers, lawyers, like all kinds of people that can read this and understand what we have to create. It's not like an application like a few pieces
like
of
for
paper.
a job at local Pizza Hut or something.
The application that we submitted to the state that people don't realize is like textbook size, huge applications, plans. There's so much that goes into it. So it's
It takes a lot of
it's not
funding,
just-
a lot of connect calls, a lot of meetings to be able
in
to
a short amount of
put
time.
this package together too.
So at the walkthrough, I had my team of people there, but you don't tell them you're together. You just show up at the walkthrough, because it's competitive. You don't say whose team you're on. But they were all my team that showed up for this meeting. So when it was time to follow every rule that the state said, I couldn't hand deliver it. I had to mail it, certified mail. I turned in the RFP, and they told me, "Hey, you won the RFP. You're the winning bidder.
Congrats!" Yeah.
Well, this didn't make the state of Wyoming happy. I believe it didn't make them happy at all because
So they didn't just set a 40-year lease agreement on your desk and said, "Yeah,
Nope.
good job.
no. What they
We
did
like what you got."
was okay. You won it. Now we'll start working on a contract. They said we'll start working on a contract. So they worked on this contract that was disastrous for the concessionaire. We asked for 40 years. They said, no, we'll give you 20 years. They said to me, well, Roland, from the start, we'll tell you what you can buy, and we'll tell you how much you can sell it for.
Yeah.
Roland, you can put in the 1.6 million that you said you'd do, which I still will do. I would like to reinvest. I would put in 1.6 million into my facility for a long-term lease.
Awesome.
So that was on the table. And also, they told me, they said, Roland, by the way, after 20 years of your agreement with us, you need to walk away with zero compensation, zero. So
Man.
the state,
So they gave you a 20-year lease when you won the contract in 2021.
right?
And then after the end of that, they're like, all right, goodbye.
Exactly. But right from the beginning, the lease was, my attorney said, you can't sign this because you're basically giving them ownership of your facility from the start. So they could have thrown me out the second I signed it to give it to some DC
Just
lobbyist if they
anyone.
wanted
Yeah.
to. Yeah. So the state didn't want me. The state didn't want my family here. They wanted to get us out. And they made sure the contract they offered me would be something I wouldn't sign in 2021. That's what they did. They did not want me here. So then afterwards they said, well, we'll give you a 2-year management agreement until, the next RFP come out. So we weren't signing something that was not fair.
Yeah, 2 years.
All we've ever asked for was something for the state to be fair with us. And that's all we've ever wanted was a fair lease.
Of course.
A lease that would be competitive with our competitor. Now, we get a 20-year lease, but our competitor has a 40-year lease. It's just, it's just not.
That already leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, how can you compete when you know you're not going to invest another dime because you only have a few years left while your competitor has 40 years left? You have to be competitive. And this contract they offered was unfair. Very
Right.
unfair. So when the new lease came out, or the new RFP,
This is
in 2023.
2023.
2023.
Now, so your 20-year lease is up now?
No,
we
Sorry,
ever-
the
the-
2 years. Because you've been doing small-term leases up until
the management agreement
after
to be here.
After the 2021 agreement, that was short-term until, so 2 years, and now we're at 2023.
2023.
And now we're going to do the RFP. We're going to start the bidding again.
Mm-hmm.
And,
And right from the beginning, when that RFP came out, we read through it and we noticed it was quite a bit like the first RFP. But this RFP, the new RFP, had zero compensation for the concessionaire. By doing that, they deemed my facility worth nothing.
right.
They deemed it
you
worth
don't-
nothing. So if somebody else wins the contract, they can offer me $50 and it'd be better than me paying $500,000 to get it ripped out. So, so right from the beginning, the first thing we did was we protested the RFP to the Wyoming State Parks. They got the letter and they pretty much ignored it and said, hey, there's no protest process. So we sent the letter to the Wyoming Land Management Group down in Cheyenne. And they said, well, you're barking up the wrong tree. You need to go back to state parks. So there was no process.
Like, you need to talk to some other guy. Yeah.
So we knew the day that we found out that this Alaska DC lobbyist, ex-senator, was putting in a bid, when we knew that he got the teepee pools, that our days were numbered because
And that was the Wyoming Hot Springs LLC.
right. As soon as I knew for sure, I was like, yeah, this already smells bad. You know, the whole thing was bad from the start, and we knew we'd lose. And my guys, they were like, I had Marshall Keller, attorney firm in town, and he's a wonderful attorney. He's one of the best around. I would highly recommend him. But when you face the state, you have one attorney, Marshall Keller, for fighting up to 60 to 100 attorneys down in Cheyenne.
Right.
So
the conglomerate of team in suits, right?
we had to get a bigger firm, and hopefully we're always going to work with Keller on other issues, but we went with another firm, and which the first thing my firm did down there was they did two lawsuits against the state after we lost the RFP that we deemed unfair. The first lawsuit was an injunctive order to tell the state that, hey, stop what you're doing. You're not going to take Roland's property, and you're not going to give it to this D.C. lobbyist senator from Alaska. and you're not going to enter any contract for this facility until the courts can sort this out and do what's right.
Yeah.
Okay, because we believe that is illegal against the old Wyoming state statutes, their own laws, that you cannot just take somebody's facility for free. And that's exactly what the state's trying to do. That's what we're fighting for.
Right. So originally back in 2021, and they opened the bidding process, and they said, "Hey, anyone that bids, that's not the Star Plunge, not you, has to pay you the concessionaire fees,
Appraised
value minus the minus the plot of the land, the value of the land, or something of that nature. There was like some sort of like caveat for they can deduct something, all right? But so a lump sum to be able to say, hey, like we know you're losing your business, we know everything you've done. This is thank you for your investment. Like have a good life, right?
Right.
And then so that was in there, and that may or may not discourage people from being able to bid on it as well, right? And you don't have to pay yourself when you win the concessionaire. So
right.
it was easier to win that for you. Of course, you had to do all the work. You had to make this whole portfolio. That's not easy. I'm not trying to say that what it was easy for you. But then we move over. They give you a 2-year lease, which is kind of well, yeah, good job, but we'll come back for you, right? It's almost that sentiment. But we're not saying that's how it was, or they said that, but that was a sentiment. And then. So now we're end of the 2 years, and 2023 comes in, and they're going, okay, so now we're going to rebid. Don't worry about that part where we omitted you get paycheck for your entire legacy. Don't worry about that's not in there anymore, and you're good, right? You should start your bids, and we'll work it out. And that really quickly opened the door for their buddies, for anyone to just kind of move on in and go, oh, we don't have to pay that extra paycheck. We can just boot this person out of here and take over. It kind of feels like a hostile takeover kind of scenario, right? Or, don't look at the other hand that's playing around. And so that made it really easy for someone to come swoop in. But something when in doing the research to this is the state, is it the state or the park? Correct me if I say the wrong way, but they wanted you to perform certain things, or they wanted you to make certain upgrades, and as per the RFP, to the pools, to the for the bidding and stuff. What was the sentiment there that they would want you out while you could just make these upgrades and things that yourself? Because from the quote winning bid, which is still in conjecture and in lawsuits, but this quote winning bid, most of what I was seeing was that it was like, oh, they're gonna put in a new pool. They're going to do some maintenance or new slide. It was a new slide and some maintenance. And then, of course, the TP had a whole different package to it. But their idea to, the big plan was to just add another slide to the property. Isn't that something that you'd be able to do? Or they just don't, they kind of blackballed you there? I don't know how much you can speak on it, but why not just have you be able to do the things that, say, a winning bid came up with?
Well, I'd like to think that the reason why we lost was, one, they didn't put any compensation. They opened the door, like you said,
right,
for a ex-senator, a D.C. lobbyist to swoop in.
Some big money guy with their buddies.
To come in here and just take this property for nothing. And the state was going to help him, or was trying to help him do it.
State,
If they ever wanted my family here, we would have worked out a lease in the last 17 years,
It feels like it.
And we have tried. We've tried with the state numerous times, but the state will not negotiate with us. They have their plan to do their Disneyland here in the park. These
the
water
2013.
slides. They even said they were going to put in a drive-in theater, Brooks Jordan. We don't have room in the park, and if you were to put in the Disneyland, you're going to need the whole center of the park there for parking.
Yeah.
It's just Thermopolis is not ready, or we just don't have the room for that to build a Disney World and to do it to be, let's say, a water park that's competitive with, let's say, Denver. You're talking at least $200-300 million, because that's what Water World and Elitch's has in their water parks, and Wyoming just can't afford it. I mean, we don't have the 2 million people that the state says we have coming through here when we have 2 million.
Yeah.
Well, Jackson Hole gets 1.6 million.
No
something
way.
wrong. There's something wrong, and yeah, it's just not feasible, and so
And so it's not like you're resistant to doing what's needed for their master plan. You want to, of course, keep this going and improve upon it and make the changes that are going to be helpful to the community, to the state, to everyone. You want to be able to do these things, and that's part of your plan, is to do the upgrades and things like that, right? You're constantly investing in the community. You're constantly investing in the business and everything. I mean, you're taking a full loss from a movie theater just because the community is hopeful for it and wants to keep that, right? And so you're not resistant to them in any of this nature, but then for some reason they're resistant to you is the feeling or is the sentiment of letting you and your legacy continue. And maybe it's personal, maybe it's money, maybe it's they're trying to do favors. It's all maybes, right? We're not.
Yeah, that's right.
But it doesn't. A lot of the sentiment feels like that they're trying to push you out. And that's not fair. Nobody should have to lose their family legacy. And you would be able to pass that on to your daughter here.
Right.
That was the plan, right?
Yes,
and then now, she's out completely too if they just rip this away from you. And that's where they come in with their stormtroopers of all their lawyers and stuff like that to seemingly do. And I think like part of the town, like there's a lot of talk of like it being torn. Some people think that you're closing it down to stick it to the town or stick it to the opposition in order to leverage them. But it's actually kind of the other way around, right? They shut you down in a way to stick it to you,
right?
In order to put the pressure on you, because right now you don't have the star Plunge, you don't have the income, you don't have the ability to even fight what they're trying to do to you. So they took away basically your means of income in order to be able to stick it to you. And so I just kind of want to make sure that sentiment or the understanding is there, is that people, it's not that he would open today if he could.
Right.
We wouldn't even have this podcast because he would be so busy making sure this place was ready to go and people would be in this pool. But it's not in his hands, and it's being taken away from him. What kind of gets me is like they have these plans to be able to upgrade the park, and I think that generally a lot of people want upgrades. We want to have Disneyland or something, right? We kind of we want more tourism, more things, but they're also worried about being priced out. That's a huge one. What happens when you bring in a giant, all the money that would be poured in, let's throw a number, $1 billion poured into the state park to be able to attract more people. Well, who's eating that cost? Because it's not going to be just someone out there with philanthropy and sending money out to all of us, right? To make this right. It's going to come down to us as the community and everything that has to work these jobs, that has to provide these services, that has to do all the building this stuff and all of that. And I guess I kind of forgot where I was going with it, but so it's not that we're resistant to upgrades, but keeping things at a cost-effective way for us locals, for us statewide even, is a big sentiment that needs to happen, and that's what you want. You want to keep it affordable for people, while still modernizing, while still upgrading the facilities, the parks, and all that. You're not resistant to these upgrades or anything like that. Is what it feels like.
Well,
right?
in the last few years, let's say 4 years. Let's just go back since the deferred maintenance plan. We've completed the deferred maintenance plan, which had a value of $1.4 million.
Wow!
At the same time that you have regular maintenance to do, regular things that you needed to do.
6 months changing a pump.
In the last 2 years, or let's say 22, 21, we invested over $82,000 in just items for this facility.
Wow!
This new gazebo,
Love it.
New windows going down, all new doors, all new windows up front. We did all of this because we like to reinvest in our our investment.
Right.
And it has shown that what we've done, I mean, more people appreciate it, more people come here. Now, for instance, if this is done, if this new RFP gets pushed through and I am forced to sell legally, the legal amount, the appraised value, the fair amount, if I am forced to sell at that price, the new owner is not only going to have to keep the, let's say, the 1550 to maintain what we have now, but now you have the 1550 that people pay to get in to swim, but now you also have to service a $7 million debt.
Wow.
So the 1550 to get in is going to cost a lot more money. You got the base 1550. Now we have to service 80,000 a month. Is what I'm guessing for a $6 million
Sure.
loan to service the debt. You're going to be paying by the hour to come swim here.
Just like the other two
because
facilities.
nobody in their right mind, if I have $7 million to invest, why would I take it out of an investment right now that's paying 10% and try to get break even or nothing?
Yeah.
These people are going to invest to make money, and they're not going to give it away for free. Wyoming's not going to grow. I mean, not much. It hasn't grown much in the last 10 years, and I don't think it's going to skyrocket in the next 10 years. And the weather's not going to change in Wyoming. Those are the contributing factors of the number of people that come in here. Because, like I said earlier, we're not going to get these California people and these people that normally go to Yellowstone in the summer. You're not going to get them in the winter. We never have. We never will. The roads in Wyoming won't allow it. And
Wow.
people are too smart.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it. And the growth of Wyoming in the area, I mean, it's not going to change much. If it does, it's going to 2%, 3%. And we already show that in what we make. So 2-3% each year, it's not going to grow more than that.
Yeah. So we'd pay the bill at the door,
Yes,
or by the hour.
You'll have to.
You said something about payment by the hour.
Yes, the senator, the D.C. lobbyist man, he has a couple facilities now that he charges by the hour.
Do you need to take care of that?
No, we're good.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, he charges by the hour. Okay, and what else is going to happen is with all that money coming in here, things are going to change. They're going to have to change the infrastructure, meaning they're going to demand a lot more fresh water. Can our city handle it? How about the sewer? How about the garbage? There's so many factors that are going to change that it's not going to just affect me. It's going to affect our community.
Very much.
Everybody's going to have to pay for that. Not just me. It's people in town. That's what I'm fighting for too, is to try to keep things from getting out of hand. Because if it gets to the point where you're paying by the hour, most of the people that live in Thermopolis, one of the poorest communities in the state, poorest counties in the state,
Yeah.
people who live here won't be able to afford to come here.
It's already tough enough to live here in Thermopolis,
Yeah.
especially as a tourist town, right? We
Yes.
rely on a lot of that, but and to make the prices go up even higher because we're accommodating tourist prices for local people. I can't afford a vacation like that, much less to live daily like that.
People in the service industry like you, people working the shops around town, they have to have, you and your wife working to afford a place to stay in Thermopolis.
Yeah.
Now, what happens when coming swimming or paying for your rent? You got to make a choice.
Yeah.
It's not going to be
Going
good.
out to eat these days is like $100 bill for the family, and that's incredible. Like, well, hey guys, can I just maybe pay for the internet or pay for the water bill today, like instead? Can we just do something easier? But I want to be able to give my family those opportunities to be able to come to the Star Plunge, to be able to do fun things,
Right.
Have a childhood, have a life, and some luxuries and entertainments and things like that, but you get priced out real quick when it comes to that kind of stuff. And so you really want to keep it local and keep it affordable for people, and that's one of the kind of a pillar of what you're trying to do here.
Exactly. I want to keep it. I like to think I'm a good candidate for it because I reinvest into our community.
Constantly.
I have rentals. I have other businesses. I have the theater. Our money stays locally. If this business goes to an out of state
It's definitely not local.
a DC lobbyist, then that money's it's gone. It's not. I mean, it's do I put money back in the pool or do I take that trip to Hawaii? I think the lobbyists would
Right?
like to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, and just to touch on what you're saying, as like a local owner, we know our community.
You
We
do?
know who's hurting, who's in need. We know who could use some support from us. We do those cookie auctions all the time for people in need. Are you familiar with the cookie
I'm
auctions?
not. What kind of cookie auction?
So they do like these cookie jar auctions where they hold these special events for people who are diagnosed with cancer, people that their house just burnt down,
Oh, yeah.
crazy stuff like
Yes,
that. And,
definitely.
And these cookie jar auctions are really popular in Thermopolis, and we love to contribute to that. We love to make a basket to donate. We love to donate season passes or donate a swim here or there for whatever the case is. In because we know that person, we know our neighbors, we know who needs it, and it's so frustrating because it's like, yeah, if this new guy from out of state comes in here, he doesn't know our community. He doesn't know who needs stuff.
Right.
Those donations, like now we're closed. There's been at least like 4 events in Thermopolis that I was really sad that we couldn't contribute to and help them raise money or help them with their situations.
There's people like you and me that need help sometimes, and those are ways that they're able to get that help without having to work harder, or ask, for handouts per se. It's a way to be able to give back to that community and get the help to individuals and to people that need it, and like that's huge.
We've always done that. We've always people call, hey,
Definitely.
could you, and we get them calling all the time, and we have regulars. Yeah. Hey, we're doing the Hogan on ski thing, and we would like to know if you could donate some swim passes, and we have very rarely ever declined giving donations. We've always given swims, shirts, season tickets to worthy causes, and it almost everybody that calls, all they have to do is send me a self-addressed stamped envelope, and more than likely we'll support
You get
their
back
cause.
to them in some
But,
way.
Yeah, we want to make sure it's like, my kids are going to go there and I don't have any money. Send me some free tickets. No, we're doing this to help somebody for a good cause, a worthy cause. We've never said no.
Yeah. Man, that's such a big deal too. When you're integrated that well into the community and know the needs. I mean, you hire locals, and you have people that work here forever, and they work here because you're taking care of them, you're taking care of their families, you're taking care of the community, and they see that sentiment behind you, and they're on board. It goes a long way when you show that you take care of people, even whether it's an employee or whether it's just someone that's a need. And that's something that big money people, big corporates, they don't because they don't know that that individual, and for them it's like, well, I don't want to, like, why am I going to give Joe Schmo a pool pass? No, they don't need it. And they're like, well, it was actually a benefit, like not like just giving someone a pass. It's because they're having troubles, and this is to help raise funds for medical debt or etc. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and like you said about the community thing, to have the state come in here and tell the lies that they've said about them owning the facility. It was the courts that shut us down. Oh, the pools are in disarray. This has divided our community.
Yes.
This has divided our community. And the best way, I hope they read my letter and they understand that
it's on Facebook, everybody, on the official Star Plunge Facebook page. Check that out if you haven't read it. It puts it all there in pretty black and white.
Yeah, and people that I went to school with, people from Facebook, the Thermopolis, our hometown, they've been asking for, say something that you can say so we can spread it, so that oh, he didn't want a lease, that's addressed in here on most of these questions, and it's important. I hope they'll read it and understand that the lies that are said about this facility is what's tearing our town down. It's tearing it, and it's wrong. It's totally wrong. And there's no reason why the state cannot allow us to open until the courts settle this. Okay, that's the good thing to do, because our community is hurting, not just emotionally, but financially too, economically.
Yeah, across the board.
And just like to shed more light onto what Roland is saying, is this is such a big history, that's like really important. You ask what's going on at the Star Plunge, it's like, well, where do I start? Or, which angle should I, where should I go into this at? Because you could jump into just the newest RFP. Well, that doesn't really explain the old RFP or what is an RFP and all
the
those
differences
different
between
things.
the two. Yeah.
And so like with we're so emotionally invested. This is my entire life. This is my childhood. This is everything. Like growing up, my family, like every birthday party I've had in there, like and so it's like it's just hard. It's like we see those like rude comments or whatever it is, like, oh, you don't want to invest. Like, we want to invest, we want to upgrade, we want to do things. Like we're being held back. We're so emotionally invested in this, so it's hard to just kind of like give a plain answer without like pouring our hearts out or saying the wrong
Every
thing
time, right?
or like being offended by whoever has to say, like,
right.
So this document we put out, the set it straight or whatever, what is it?
Setting the record straight.
Setting the record straight is so important to go through because it starts from the beginning and it walks you kind of through what we've had to face and gives you that view of like an unemotional, like, like not like such a, it's just like, here it is. Read it. You can
Setting
understand it. Yep. And it's
whatever
it's
you might
so
think
hard.
of on this end and think of on that end. Well, that should be the answers to what you're looking for, and hopefully you can understand a little better and not have. It happens a lot. Fragmented pieces of information. Someone heard someone say that, Roland's just stomping around and closing the pool because he's, because he's allergic to money, I guess now. But like they want to say that, or they want to say that in like a piece here and a piece there, and if they don't get the big picture, then you run off of what little tidbit you have and then what you inflated that to look like, right, in your mind. And I think that's part of the work I do on the podcast, is setting the record straight, letting people understand and see it in raw, in the light of from the word of the people, what is actually happening. Clear up this mud, and we can be a better community. We can be built up together. We can be, we could be a community rather than be divided, right? Together we stand, divided we fall. I think that's how it goes. I'm sure.
Very well said.
America.
That's
Sounds
well
good.
said.
Yeah,
That's
America.
well said. Yeah. And we don't want that. I mean, people that I went to school with are telling me, you should have just done this. You should have done that. It's just not that easy.
Yeah.
Making the decisions
If you
we've had to
could.
make. That would that would be great.
Why not? You would.
But that's the last thing we want. We want this community to enjoy the pool.
Yeah.
To get the wellness benefits that this pool provides.
Definitely.
To bring in that outside money to our community, because the tourism community drew in around, I believe, $27 million last year.
Wow.
That's what the tourism brought in. The
Okay.
attractions, $27 million. That's
Wow.
like people
Sure.
coming in. That's hotels. That's Airbnb. That's grocery. And when they bring that $27 million into our community, it turns over 7 times. So over $100 million worth of taxable revenue that is taxed by the state. That's where they get their money. A lot of people say, oh, well, you don't pay nothing. Well, we pay just as much as everybody else does in this park. And anybody that comes to this park.
Yeah.
We pay just as much or more. So.
Yeah.
All day long. Man, I'm drawing a huge blank, and I had something that I wanted to bring up, but now I'm losing it a little bit. Okay. We don't want to get into more of the nitty gritty of the laws and things like that. Like, there's things that we can't talk about, and
Right.
that's completely understandable. To kind of setting it straight, and you clearly put it in the document here, is that virtually what's happening is that they removed your compensation to be able to, if you were to lose the bid, to be able to be reimbursed for everything you've done, and your family's done in the past 50 years.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And then remove that, which and you don't have to comment on this. Just let me kind of go on this, but it's a law that says they have to compensate you, and they skirted this law in the recent RFP, in the recent bidding process, in some fashion, to be able to for pressure you out of it, or to almost price you out of the RFP and things like that, to get you out of the bidding process. Because when you don't get compensation, that means that's another X $1 million that they don't have to pay for some outside conglomerate, regardless of who it is. That's just a bill. That's like a loan that they don't have to pay on, right? And that loan would end up bringing higher cost in completely. It's not like they just have this extra pool of money sitting around, so they price you out of that. And that's what the biggest part of all of this is that when you work your entire life, and many of us work our entire lives on something, and to amount to something, to just have someone basically come up and say, good job, we'll take it from here. It doesn't really sit well. If your boss came up to you at work and hey, you've been working for us for a good 10 great years and you've been doing a lot of good work. Have a nice day.
I think a way that maybe could connect with a lot more people is like a lot of people buy a house. If they're lucky, they can buy a house and they pay on that house for 30 years or more, depending. And they work their entire lives to pay off their house. They usually try to make their house nicer. They invest in their house. They update things in there.
Put a new door in.
It's their home. They love it. They have investment, like emotionally. Like they raise a family in that home. They do, whatever. And then for somebody to knock on their door one day after 50 years, so they've paid it off. They're kind of sitting good. They love it. It's right where they want it.
Take care of the yard. I'm mowing my lawn, and someone comes walking up.
They knock on the door and say, "Hey, we're gonna have you just exit your house. You can't take anything. You just need to leave, and we have somebody else we're gonna send in there, and we're gonna actually give them $3 million to do whatever they want, and they get their house, but you have to leave. Sorry."
They get a paycheck
you just
and your
walk
home.
Out. You don't get to take anything.
Yeah, don't worry about picking up the clothing or your cell phone.
Yeah, I think like that person might just say like, "Hey, wait a second, this isn't right. Like, hey, you can't just take my stuff for this. I've invested in here."
That is a beautiful way to put it. Yeah.
So like that's like a way that people can connect, because some people are like, Roland just dropped their lawsuit, walk away. It's like, how do you do that? This is our home. Like this is our passion. This is our love. We poured everything into this. Roland has.
And there's more to it too. It's not just just walk away. It's setting a precedent for everything else.
Yeah.
If you own your home, and you have your house and you buy a nice painting for your house, do you pay taxes on that painting every year? You don't.
I don't think so.
But you do on your property.
You do.
Yeah.
So you have to pay property taxes each year. So if they can just take this like that, they're going to take the hospital, the doctor's office, the dentist shop,
Anything
that isn't owned by the state. They'll just say, hey, that's ours now. We want somebody else to run the hospital. Be more profitable than this pool. Right. They'll make a lot more money.
They'll take the neighbor's house. They'll take the neighbor, your uncle's house, your niece's house.
It's very dangerous. It is very dangerous, especially for a state that's supposed to be conservative.
Yeah.
This state, we're a bunch of conservatives.
Mom and pop shops.
We don't do that in this state. But
Wyoming's kind of known for taking care of their own, right? And being that everyone's equal, to each other. And how does that show that you're valued just as much as anyone else when they can walk up and say, "Have a good day," and
leave your keys there.
Leave your keys, yeah.
Yeah, and just like to circle back to one of our points earlier, it's like if I go to P6 and there's a mess, or one of the employees maybe are acting kind of weird, or I know Lacey and Ryan Schaefer. I can call them.
Shout out, guys.
I can call someone that knows their number. Say, hey, this is what's going on, or hey, great job, or if a corporation were to come in and own this or take over, it's like, who can I call? How do I get a hold of this person? Or who even owns it? Or where are they even at? Roland lives so close to the Star Plunge. If there's an issue, we can drive to their house, or, hey, Roland, you need to get down here now. There's an issue, or there's something going on that we need your help.
Yeah.
And hey, you call the DC lobbyist. Hey, man, we haven't heard from you in a few, weeks, years.
If you
weeks,
speak Spanish, push 1.
yeah,
German,
or
2.
like, hey, where
Way
you
down
at?
the
We
line.
kind of need your help with this issue or whatever it is.
Yeah,
This small community, it's nice that I can call, hey, Lacey, there's a big mess in your bathroom, and I wasn't sure who to tell, but you should probably know this.
Yeah, I do. I get people that reach out at when I work. I don't like to blast where I work and stuff like that for the sake of like it's a corporate organization. So
Yeah.
but that's very much the sentiment, right? Like I'm the manager there, and I try to attend all the things, and people do reach out to me, and that's a way that I'm able to like, okay, cool, I didn't even know this happened, right?
Yeah.
But then sometimes when it's maybe a bigger issue, or like maybe someone wants to propose an idea or something like that, stonewalled. I'm like, hey, I have no power,
Yeah.
and you got to talk to this person's secretary and that their secretary's secretary to get a hold of them, or there's always that kind of like, I'm gonna throw you the pipeline and you're gonna fall off wherever you fall off, and that's what would happen if they just keep eating up all of our locally owned businesses and all of our family owned businesses. Is that it would be this pipeline of paperwork just to get the bathroom cleaned.
Yeah. Just someone.
Well, you're gonna have to file a 2164 in order to get that taken care of. Well, it's some toilet paper on the ground. Like I'm not gonna pick it up because it's kind of icky, but like someone should.
Yeah.
This will be answered within 6 months.
Yeah, we'll get back to you.
And people that aren't familiar with the pool, like who haven't been here in a lot of years, they'll have a lot to say. Like, it was like this, but that was like 10 years ago since the last time you've been here. If you haven't been here recently and seen all the upgrades and things that we've done, that Roland's done, like it's incredible. Just every day, he's here every day, multiple times a day, trying to fix something, make something better, make something look better, make it more functional, tighten a screw, something so simple.
Yeah. Make sure the awning's bolted down.
It's just something like.
And the truth is in the numbers. The truth is in the numbers. Are you doing better now? Or are you doing better 10 years ago?
Yeah.
You're doing better now.
Every
The truth, there's not 2 million people in this park. That's the first big
That'd be
non-truth.
You said about 5,000 people
At
a day.
5,000 a day, it's impossible. Second,
I would turn the camera around to show you, but the park has maybe like 50 people. There's 2 buses down there, so that might have a couple. But
we probably get, I'd say realistic numbers, 300,000 a year.
that sounds like a fair number.
And,
Yeah.
and most of them are from Thermop, going to the hospital or going back and forth.
That's what I was interested in. So like their numbers kind of get inflated when I have to take and drive. I drive through the park a couple times a day for something.
Just to drive around.
Yeah, the buffalo pasture. Love to just go up there and be able to kind of relax and take some space or take the kids to the park, or the pool. But like I'm going, maybe I have to go back and grab a swimsuit for the kid. And I come back in, and now it's racking that number up every time I'm
It's not just one
driving
person a
over
car,
there.
it's like 5 people a car.
They had a travel commission here meeting 2018, and at the meeting, this guy from Cody, he was a chamber director, and he gave this beautiful slideshow speech about how Cody was doing. And at the end of his speech, he says, "Cody's proud to announce we had 800,000 visitors last year." Everybody clapped. What a nice presentation. It wasn't 30 seconds later that the Wyoming State Park guy got up there and started giving his speech. And in his first paragraph, he says, "Hot Springs State Park's proud to announce we had 2 million people come to our park last year." And well, hold on, is this true? And the senator goes, "How'd you get those numbers?" And the guy says, "Well, we put this strip across by the Days Inn down there, the Hot Springs Hotel.
The entrances.
And every time a car went by, it counted." And then the senator said, "Well, how many did it count for?" He says, 4. He goes, the senator says, "Well, so I came in last night to my room, stayed at the Days Inn, and then I came to this meeting this morning, which was at the museum downtown. And he forgot his computer, went back to his hotel, and then went back to the museum." He goes, "So did that count me as 12 people? Or was it, 12 people?"
Right.
And the guy
After all the
says,
trips
"Well,
you've
if
done."
you went over the strip, 4 people for every time it went across."
Oh no!
How do you get that? So one guy counted as
blunder.
16.
Yeah.
And I
It's just
myself,
not accurate.
I've been to
workers.
I've been to the the hardware store 1 million times that year. You know, maybe that's
a million. There it is. That's the number.
That's it. Yeah, it's just unreal.
You alone were holding down the state park, just with your
Added.
just with your
It's like,
trips.
you need a bolt. Okay, go. Oh, wrong bolt. Okay, go back. Oh, we need this now. Okay, go.
Man.
You know, and it does.
Easy to do. Easy to do.
The local hardware store, they're so great. Walking in there, there's always someone that's like, hey, how can I help you? And man, I come up with some crazy ideas. So the wife and I, we always have like these weird projects we're going to do, right? Like, let's do a hydroponic system with, or aquaponic system with the fish tank and and plants and stuff like that. So we go in there and we're like, it's a different one. It's not, I don't just need a bolt. Like, I need a piece of PVC that can do this, and then I need a fixture that can go into the, we're always coming up with some crazy thing when we walk in there, and they're just like, we'll give you to the guy that's more creative. And I'm like, okay, that's great. And they always help us out. Like, you know, I sometimes walk in there and I'm just like, man, I'm sorry, but this one's weird. Like, so shout out to just local businesses, you know, and stuff like that, because it is like that. It's like you get treated as family. You know, you come here to swim, you get treated as family. You know. We want to make sure that you're taken care of. You're, you know, having a good stay. You know, the bathrooms are clean, like all that. You know, and no matter where you go, everybody. And that's the Wyoming, right? That is Wyoming. It's like we all want to treat each other like family, and we all strive to do that. You know, there's some bad actors. Like, everywhere's gonna have it. You know, there's a percentage of people that are just abrasive, to say the least, right? But at the end of the day, like, you know, if you had an issue that needed to be taken care of, or you wanted to talk to somebody, you could probably find a way to get their the phone number or a Facebook page or an email, and be able to shoot them a message, just like, hey, you know, I had this concern, or you know, or some way, and that's a community. That's a community of what we do here, you know.
That's right.
And you guys are huge pillars in the community, and we. No one wants to see you go. Maybe there are some bad actors. Yeah, that I don't want to see you go. But I think at the heart of Thermopolis doesn't want to see you guys go. Doesn't want to lose someone so influential in their lives, in the community, you know, even in the state. You know, it's a colossal thing what you guys take on all the time. You know, the both of you, and it's always the unsung hero, right? Like, you know, you don't have to, you know, you don't have to grandstand or anything like that. Let me gush about just like how much you guys do for everyone around, and you try to always put in some sort of effort to help somebody. Man, that is burning hot. We're not gonna, and it shows. It does show all the time. And then you get some bad people that want to you know, that just don't like you for whatever reason, or you know, don't like something about it, and then, or they have an old view, and then that really just hurts, you know, is because you're sitting here and like, man, I just helped out 3 kids with cancer yesterday, and then like you come at me because, you know what, the price had to go up 50 cents because I need to help, you know, I need to, you know, pay for the new pumps, I needed to, you know, do these upgrades and things like that, and you know, I'm not trying to put up the prices a lot, but I got to make the bills just like you do at home, right? Like, we all have something we're trying to build here, and this is yours, and yours is you know, the center, or as a pillar of a community, not like their home, not like what they're you know, necessarily doing, and so people lose sight of that. And you know, like, just I appreciate you guys even taking the time to. I just reached out, right? I just sent you a message. It was Taylor, the other guy that's usually on my podcast. She was like, hey, why don't you reach out to Taylor, and maybe you'd be able to get a hold of them, and maybe she would go on the podcast with you. And so I was like, oh yeah, sure. Oh, you miss 100% of shots you don't take, right? So we take the shot, and then here we are sitting down and having a conversation. And I never thought I'd be able to get this opportunity to talk to you guys. Is there anything you guys wanted to put out? Any more sentiment? Any last words of you know, everything we've talked about today, or something you just really want to sit and resonate with everybody?
Well, one, we really want to say, you know, we love our facility, and I'd like to think that the numbers that we have, the season ticket holders and the visitation that we have, speaks for itself. You know, and don't always believe that if some state guy tells you something that's the truth, because you know, it's not always that way.
Yep. And there's, you know, Facebook isn't like your only source for information in our town. Like, you know, like I said, we've been
Fact.
talking about, like, this is a small community. Like, if you have questions, if you're not sure about something, send Roland, send me a direct message on Facebook is fine, or send us an email, starplunge@gmail.com, and I check that every day, and I try to make sure that those questions get answered, or, you know, that I can, if I can't get a hold of Roland, I know where he lives, so I usually will send someone up there if I can't get up there. Like, hey, you need to answer your phone. No, but you know, it's like we're open for the questions and the conversations, and people that aren't sure about what's going on. If you haven't read the set the record straight, that document that's out, if you want us to email it to you because you can't read it very well on Facebook,
Sure,
we
maybe you
can
don't
do
have
that.
a Facebook. Yeah.
People, we can do that. Like I said, we want to be transparent as possible and reach everyone that we can.
So what was the email again that they can reach out to?
Starplunge@gmail.com.
All right. And you'll be able to send them the document there if they didn't get it from a friend or something, or if they have a hard time being able to find it or read it.
Yeah.
That the document is real. It's serious, and it explains so much. And I hope that the community can really understand better of what's happening here. It's more than just this refusal to sell a property or something silly, right? There's a lot more involved in here, and it does set a precedent that I think that needs to be stood on, and we need to make sure that we protect our own. We protect what we have going on here, because it could be your home, it could be your business, it could be it could be something of yours, and you're gonna you're not gonna want to just hand over the keys to your house and walk away, and I think that sums that up, right? Like,
Exactly.
refuse to do that. So there was a question from a viewer, and they had asked if you can't answer, perfectly okay.
Sure.
So if you did get bought out and the Star Plunge was no longer with your family, would you have a future endeavor? And is there something that the town could support in that? Any ideas in the pipeline of what you would do if it wasn't for Star Plunge?
Well, if I'm bought out, I would probably just retire.
Yeah.
I would just do nothing. Just, I don't know, nothing.
Enjoy the
He's worked every day
community
for
and
50 years.
I'd be fishing, I'd be golfing, I'd be traveling, I would do something.
Yeah.
I would do something fun.
Cool.
I mean,
Fishing, huh?
I've worked enough. Yeah. I'd like to do all that
Do you
stuff.
do you fly fish?
I do everything.
Oh man, I've never been fly fishing,
It's
and it's
fun,
so
yeah.
big around here. There's like 10 fly shops, right?
It's kind of
And-
intimidating, I would say. Like,
Is
to
it?
start, I would say, like, to start fly fishing is kind of intimidating, but it's really fun once you get the hang of it.
I'm looking to find out a way to start. So, but that's for another day. It'd be great once you guys are open again. To be able to come in, we do a customer experience thing with the podcast again. Maybe even sit down and talk about it all after it's all said and done. When you have a little more space to be able to talk about some of the nitty gritty stuff that is harder to talk about or legally impossible to talk about right now.
Right.
It'd be kind of cool to be able to get that again. I hope you guys had a good time.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I tried to make this fun. That
Thank
sun
you.
is really killing us. Like, we're gonna have sunburns, and I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I should have thought about sunscreen, but I learned something every episode, and maybe sunscreen's one of them.
Yeah, you're getting into the warmer months of Wyoming.
Well, we had a thunderstorm yesterday. My wife came in this morning after dropping the kids off at school, and she had a coat on and everything. I was like, okay, is it rainy? Like, what are we looking
Is
at?
it snowing?
Is it snowing? And she's like, well, it's still kind of rainy and kind of cold out, but it might warm up later today. And I was like, okay, so I don't need to worry about too much of like a heavy jacket. Well, then an hour later, I get a thunderstorm possibility in the evening on my phone. I alert it from my phone. It's like, thunderstorms could be happening in the afternoon. I'm like, we can't make up our mind here, can we, dude?
That's Wyoming.
That's Wyoming. I think that's the sentiment all the time too. Is like Wyoming's weather is so unpredictable, and being in the basin that we are, it's like you can see the nastiest storm clouds, and then they just turn left.
Yeah.
They just turn right.
We're gonna
Like
change our mind here.
they just go away all of a sudden. You're like, oh well, Cody or Riverton just got 3 inches of snow, and we're like, it's about 60 and sunny.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much, Roland. Thank you very much, Taylor.
Thank you.
That's been another episode of the Thermopolis, Voice of Thermopolis podcast. Somehow I messed up my own name for the podcast. The Voice of Thermop. I represent, the viewers, the Thermopolis, and what you guys have to say and the questions you guys want to ask. So if you do want to be able to ask people and these like questions, you don't want to be able to reach out. Maybe you have a good person that you want to hear from or to set the record straight. Just go ahead and reach out to me, thermopvoice@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook, Voice of Thermopolis, or also on YouTube. I do read the comments, and that's going to be Voice of Thermopolis on YouTube. Spotify as well. I have comments turned on for that. This will all be uploaded. I'm going to spend the rest of my day making sure that this gets uploaded as soon as possible. So it is, Tuesday the 20th? My watch died. And I will try to make sure that we get this uploaded as soon as possible. I did another episode yesterday. It was a really great episode. It was with Hayden of the Two Basins Sports Network. That one's still in editing, and that one will be put on pause in order for this one to come out, because I just want to make sure that people get this information as soon as possible, because there's so much controversy happening here, right? Yes. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you guys again. Let's have a good day.
Yeah, thank you.